Like they're filming us. This is just like a trick, like as if I'd done it before, really. And I remember it because it was Emma.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 biggest reveals in Harry Potter 20th Anniversary Return to Hogwarts.
I killed you, didn't I?
You killed me,
Yeah. I'm sorry. Had to be done.
For this list, we'll be looking at details and behind-the-scenes facts from the Harry Potter reunion, some of which hadn't been revealed before. Others we hadn't heard the cast and crew speak about in depth before. What was your biggest takeaway from Return to Hogwarts? Did you catch the Weasley twins mix-up? Let us know in the comments below.
He's not Fred, I am. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother.
Number 10. The Great Hall's floating candles were originally real.
It's not real, the ceiling. It's just bewitched to look like the night sky. I read about it in Hogwarts, a history.
The Harry Potter franchise is wall-to-wall with technical wizardry. For all the CGI on display, the filmmakers also aim to work in practical magic. In the reunion, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint reminisce about the Great Hall's floating candles from the first film.
So much of that would be visual effects now. The fact that we got to actually be on that set.
That's so cool.
Thank you, Stuart Craig.
To truly bring Hogwarts to life, the crew wanted to hang actual candles from wires, which would later be removed during editing. As you might imagine, this turned out to be a safety hazard. The fire would burn through the wires, and they came falling down.
One of my favourite moments on set ever was the moment when all the floating candles started burning through the ropes that tied them to the ceiling and just started falling around the Great Hall.
Hundreds of real candles that were really lit on fishing line from the ceiling.
The filmmakers thus decided to take the digital route going forward. Nevertheless, the cast still has fond memories of first entering the suspended candlelit hall, praising Stuart Craig's production design.
Being on that set, you felt like you actually entered the world.
Yeah.
With all of Stuart Craig's sets.
Yeah.
The attention to detail was phenomenal.
Number 9. The Phelps twins made Rupert Grint think that he missed a dance lesson.
No. Place your right hand on my waist.
Where?
My waist. And extend your arm.
In The Goblet of Fire, Professor McGonagall prepares students for the Yule Ball, enlisting Ron as her dance partner. Ron is visibly uncomfortable, and apparently so was Rupert Grint.
Weirdly, I felt quite self-conscious about it. I didn't really know. I'd never danced with a lady before, so it was kind of a very new thing.
Not only had Grint never danced with a lady before, but his on-screen twin brothers had a little fun with him behind the scenes. James and Oliver Phelps asked an oblivious Grint if he knew all of his steps, convincing him that they'd been rehearsing a complex dance routine for almost 6 weeks.
They kind of convinced me before we filmed it that there was this whole dance routine planned.
We were like, oh, do you know your steps? No, you know, the routine. We've all been doing a routine for the past 6 weeks or something like that.
Aside from adding to the awkward tension, we could totally see Fred and George Weasley doing this to Ron in either the films or books.
Oi! Never gonna let me forget this, are you?
Never.
Stories like this exemplify how the actors channeled their characters and evolved from a cast to a family.
And this way. No, you will have to lead eventually. Understood?
Number 8. Fox was animatronic and fooled Richard Harris.
Your bird, there was nothing I could do. He just caught fire.
Oh, and about time, too. He's been looking dreadful for days. Pity you had to see him on a burning day.
Fox the Phoenix is one of the most impressive practical effects from the Chamber of Secrets. The animatronic proved so convincing that the late Richard Harris mistook it for the real deal.
So you and I had one of our greatest laughs together with Richard Harris, and we had a animatronic version of Fox the Phoenix. And it was this big red bird that doesn't exist.
That does not exist.
According to Chris Columbus and Daniel Radcliffe, the original Dumbledore actor thought somebody had trained a large red bird.
Richard came in and looked at the Phoenix and said, wow, they train these animals marvelously these days.
The crew could see Harris through the cameras in the animatronic's eyes. Wanting to maintain the illusion, they had the animatronic respond to Harris as he interacted with it.
And then they were like, well, we don't want to break the spell. So we'll just keep the bird reacting and moving. And then that, of course, you know, got into a cycle where Richard was like, the bird is responding to me.
Radcliffe and Columbus didn't have the heart to tell Harris that it was only a robot.
We never told him.
No, we never told him.
No.
We just thought it was a real bird.
If the Fantastic Beasts movies are any indication, Fox probably would have been mostly CGI today. However, only the magic of practical effects could give us a moment such as this.
Fascinating creatures, phoenixes. They can carry immensely heavy loads and their tears of healing powers.
Number 7. Some character development was lost in deleted scenes.
The very first scene that I shot was actually cut and was on the deleted scenes. Draco touched something and I used this cane and I went... Don't touch anything, Draco. But I didn't know how sharp the teeth were, and they went right into little Tom's hands.
Even with 8 movies, there wasn't enough time to explore every character dynamic from the books. Several deleted scenes would have added new dimensions to some relationships. In The Chamber of Secrets, Lucius Malfoy was supposed to be introduced at Nocturne Alley. Lucius stops Draco from touching an object by slamming his cane. We briefly empathize with the younger Malfoy as we see how much he fears his father. Jason Isaacs underestimated how sharp and heavy the cane was, apologizing to a teary-eyed Tom Felton for accidentally cutting him.
Yes, Father.
And I went, Tom, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how sharp they were and how heavy it was. And he went, no, it's all right. It's good for the scene.
While this deleted scene can be seen in its entirety, the same, unfortunately, can't be said about the full duel between Sirius and Bellatrix.
You were a really good wizard, I was a really good witch, and we had a real duel, and they cut the whole lot.
The actor spent several days shooting this confrontation, only for it to get cut.
And we were on that set for days.
Days it was in the run. I think it was really one of my first things.
Number 6. Jason Isaacs originally auditioned for Gilderoy Lockhart.
What's the use in being a disgrace to the name of wizard if they don't even pay you well for it?
Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy and Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart are among the most spot-on casting choices in the franchise.
But I don't talk about that. I didn't get rid of the band and banshee by smiling at them.
And that's saying something. When Isaacs auditioned for The Chamber of Secrets, though, he originally sought to play the egotistical Lockhart. He was a bit miffed when Chris Columbus subsequently asked him to read for Lucius.
I'm convinced I ended up playing Lucius because I didn't want to. I went to audition for Gilderoy Lockhart, and Chris said, that was great. Would you mind reading a different part?
Isaacs was already cast as Captain Hook in the 2003 version of Peter Pan, and he didn't want to play 2 villains in fantasy movies.
I was about to play Captain Hook in Peter Pan, and I thought, well, I don't want to play 2 children's villains. And I read through Gritted Teeth, I was deeply bitter. And, of course, that's exactly what was necessary, and they asked me to play Lucius, and thank God they did.
Isaac's bitterness could be sensed as he read the part.
And?
In doing so, Isaacs ironically tapped into the character, and it quickly became clear that he was perfect for the role. Despite his initial hesitance, Isaacs couldn't be more grateful that the casting directors saw what he couldn't.
Well, let us hope that Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day.
Don't worry. I will be.
Number 5. Director Mike Newell cracked his ribs while filming The Goblet of Fire.
But that's why it's so brilliant, because it's so pathetically dim-witted.
Given the number of epic showdowns in this franchise, one might expect an on-set accident to occur here and there. One of the most painful injuries, though, stemmed from a humorous confrontation.
You know when you shouldn't break a director's rib?
Hoping to enter the Triwizard Tournament, Fred and George try cheating the age line with a potion. This backfires spectacularly, leaving the twins humiliated with long beards. While they laugh it off in the book, the film sees a brotherly squabble erupt between Fred and George.
And Mike said, okay, so I think you guys would be really annoyed with each other. I think you should have a good fight about this.
These two were sort of pressing about at it.
Not finding the fight convincing enough, Mike Newell switched places with one of the twins and tried acting it out. The 60-something-year-old director realized that he might have made a mistake as he felt some of his ribs crack.
I remember gripping him round the waist and trying to fling him about and so forth, and cracked a couple of ribs. and so was in absolute agony from then on.
At least the scene ultimately turned out well.
You said! Oh, right, you want a piece of it? Get that! Take that, come on! You make me laugh. You want to do this? Take this!
Number 4. Daniel Radcliffe wrote a love letter to Helena Bonham Carter.
Well, well, well. Look what we have here. It's Harry Potter. It's all bright and shiny and new again.
It's not uncommon for a young actor to develop an attraction to a co-star. It's hard to imagine a reality where Harry Potter falls for Bellatrix Lestrange, however. When Carter asked Radcliffe for an autograph back in the day, he gave her much more.
Dear HBC,
Yeah.
it was a pleasure being your co-star and coaster. Wow, what a clever pun I made when I was young.
Radcliffe professed his affection for Carter in a message, wishing that he'd been born 10 years earlier.
I do love you.
Then what does it say?
When the two reunited for the franchise's 20th anniversary, HBC couldn't resist asking Radcliffe to read the Declaration of Love out loud.
You can share.
We can share this now. I said, I do love you, and I just wish I'd been born 10 years earlier. I might have been in with a chance.
Carter still treasures Radcliffe's words, even hanging his note in her home. Of course, she chose to display it in the bathroom, which speaks to their playful rapport.
No, I shall always treasure that.
Thank you.
That is in my toilet, Dan.
Number 3. Emma Watson was quote-unquote in love with Tom Felton during filming.
Malfoy, you okay?
Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy developed one of the most popular ships in the Harry Potter fan community. It was even touched upon in the fan-made A Harry Potter musical.
It's the hottest girl I've ever seen now, 'cause she's like a girl I've never seen.
While the characters don't get together in any official canon, Emma Watson and Tom Felton share a close rapport in real life.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Stylish. Lucky man. Lucky man.
Emma and I have always loved each other, really.
During tutoring, the young actors were asked to draw their interpretation of God. Felton sketched a skater girl, which left Watson falling in love with him.
The assignment that had been given was to draw what you thought God looked like. And Tom had drawn a girl with a backward cap on a skateboard. And I just don't know how to say it. I just fell in love with him.
Felton eventually became aware of her crush, although he apparently viewed Watson more like a little sister. Watson clarified in the special they never pursued a romantic relationship.
Nothing has ever happened romantically with us. We just love each other. That's all I can say about that.
Dramini shippers will be ecstatic to know, however, that their mutual bond has prevailed well into adulthood.
I've always had a soft spot for her, and that continues to the day.
Number 2. Emma Watson nearly quit before the Order of the Phoenix.
Everything's going to change now, isn't it?
Yes.
Some Wizarding World roles have been harder to recast than others, but we honestly can't picture anybody playing Hermione other than Emma Watson. Before the Order of the Phoenix, Watson was tempted to walk away from the franchise.
I did find a diary entry that was kind of like, I can see that at times I was lonely.
We never talked about it on the film because we were all just kids.
The pressure of fame started to get to Watson during her teens, and she wasn't sure how to discuss these feelings with her co-stars.
The fame thing had finally hit home.
While not unknown prior to the reunion, Grint was surprised to find just how seriously Watson considered quitting.
What, you considering pulling out? I never really spoken to you about this.
Yeah, I think I was scared.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever felt like it got to a tipping point when you were like, this is kind of forever now.
As close as she was with Radcliffe and Grint, Watson still felt like something of an outsider, being younger and the only female lead.
Darren and Rupert, they had each other. I had my cronies, whereas Emma was not only younger, she was by herself.
Watson ultimately, thankfully, decided to stay on, although she might have left Hermione behind if Harry Potter didn't have such a genuine fandom.
One person couldn't feel all that. It'd explode.
Just because you've got the emotional range of a teaspoon.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Alan Rickman was the only one who knew how the series ended.
Finish him in my own way.
No! The Dark Lord was clear the voice to do it. This is your moment. Do it. Go on, Draco.
The final Harry Potter book hit store shelves the same year that The Order of the Phoenix premiered in theaters. Up until this point, most of the cast had no idea how the series would wrap up. According to Radcliffe, the late Alan Rickman was the only actor in the loop.
I wish I'd had the whole picture. You know, we only ever found out book.
Yeah, book.
I don't know whether you were, because you
not.
were Harry Potter,
Just Rickman.
you had a...
Rickman did, that was it.
Since Severus Snape is such an enigmatic character, Rickman felt that he should know whether his journey ends heroically or villainously. Knowing that Snape was a double agent allowed Rickman to add new layers to his portrayal. Although the filmmakers didn't always understand what he was doing. When Columbus was confused by an acting choice, Rickman insisted that all would eventually be made clear.
Rickman would have an in, wouldn't he?
Did, yeah. And he never told Chris, never told anyone. Chris would literally say to him, "Why are you doing that like that?" He said, "I'll tell you later."
Just as Snape carried a secret for years, so too did Rickman.
After all this time.
Always.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.